Welcome, friends. Ever since we did the Coca-Cola video, I've had a lot of requests for different styles of pops or different pop flavors that people want to see if we can try and recreate them. And one of the ones that we get all the time is Dr. Pepper. And I'm going to tell you, not even Mr. Pibb knows what's in Dr. Pepper. There are some clues, though, to what is in Dr. Pepper. There are a lot of internet lists where people try to list off the 23 flavors that they think are contained in that can. I don't know how those people are doing it. I know that people that have very trained palates can taste a lot of distinct flavors, but I don't believe anybody could drink that and say with any definitive qualification that they know what the 23 flavors are. One of the things we do know, and Dr. Pepper says all the time, there is no prune or plum flavor used in the beverage. But most of the clone recipes that I found started with prunes or plums. And I'm not going to get into the argument over whether they're the same thing or a different thing, or I don't want to get into that. But I am going to use them. I came across a recipe out of one of those books where they do clone recipes, written by Jeremy Butler. And he had a recipe for something that he called Dr. Pepper. And it started with prunes. So in this pot, I've got water. I'm going to put the prunes in. Now here's a little thing about flavor compounds, flavor profiles. You put 23 flavors into here and they're going to combine to taste like something else. They're going to combine in ways on a chemical level that we're really not going to discern. And you can actually arrive at the same sort of flavor profile using completely different components. Because on a chemical level, a lot of these things that we're going to put in there already share flavor compounds. Even though you might not be able to taste them, all of those flavor chemicals are already in there. So this is a little bit of alchemy. So I started with the Dr. Pepper recipe. I played around with it and I've started to add things to it to sort of round out the flavor. So prunes, I'm going to stop talking. Let's get right to the rest of the compounds. Raspberries. This is a vanilla pod, and I've scraped out the beans from inside, so I'm going to put the whole thing in. Wintergreen leaves. Wintergreen leaves are also used in root beer. Those go in. Whole cloves. Peppercorns. Some chopped up ginger. Some ground nutmeg. Cardamom pods, juniper berries, and a cinnamon stick. Now, I'll give this a stir just to mix everything up. And we're going to bring this to a boil. I should have broken up that cinnamon stick a little bit. Oh well. Now, I've modified the Dr. Pepper recipe from that book in a couple of different ways. I've added a bunch of stuff to it. And I've also changed the ingredient list to weight rather than volume. Some of the volumes are very small, and when you're measuring the roots, the cut and dried roots, half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of a dried and cut root, you're not always going to get the same amount because it might be cut finer. You might get some really fine particles, which will absolutely change the flavor profile. So I believe those things should be done by weight. So I'm just giving it a little stir as it comes up to a boil. I'm kind of crushing the raspberries a little bit. And I think that's good. So I'm going to put the lid on this, and we're going to let it boil for 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, we'll take this off the heat. Now, take the lid off. Smells pretty crazy. Smells pretty crazy. So I'm going to give it a stir, and we're going to let this steep for 35 or 40 minutes or so. But first, I want to add in some roots. Now, the roots that I'm going to add in are cherry bark, licorice bark, sarsaparilla, and gentian root. So I'm going to put those in, and we'll stir them in and just let this all steep together. Like I said, 35, 40 minutes, any longer than that, and you might get a little bit of astringency that we don't really want in the finished drink. So, back on with the lid, and we'll just let that go. And once that's steeped sufficiently, we're going to strain it through a few layers of cheesecloth and a fine mesh strainer. And it might take a while to fully strain. So I'm going to leave this here probably 25 or 30 minutes. Just let it drain fully and see if we can get all of that liquid out of the solids. Yeah, not the greatest looking stuff at this point, is it? Okay, we're going to put this on the heat. We're going to bring it up to a boil, and we need to dissolve this sugar into the liquid. So this is cane sugar. I know people are looking at this and saying, oh, you should use cane sugar. That white powder isn't cane sugar. It is cane sugar. I assure you it's cane sugar. Next in is some citric acid. And lastly is molasses. Molasses is just going to give this a little bit of flavor, and that's kind of what we're looking for. So we need about a tablespoon. Now we're just going to stir this and heat it gently until the sugar is completely dissolved. Okay, I think the sugar is fully dissolved. Now we have to add in some extracts, and we do this last because the flavors are very volatile. First extract we're going to use is almond. And remember earlier when I said that a lot of things share flavor profiles? Almond shares a flavor profile with a bunch of the other flavors that are in here, most notably the cherry. If you put a spoonful of almond extract and a spoonful of cherry extract in front of somebody blindfolded, I doubt they'd be able to tell the difference. They'd know what they were, they'd sort of get it, but I'm pretty sure they'd get it wrong. Just my opinion, but they do smell extremely the same. That was star anise. This one is cherry. I know I'm not supposed to measure over the pot, but you know, I do it for a living. Pretty good at it. This one is lemon. And the last one is orange. Smells absolutely amazing. Okay, now I'm going to stir this in. I'm going to put a lid on this. I'm going to let it cool down, chill completely, and then we'll give it a taste test.
All right, Glenn, bring it on.
So we're already knees deep in this Dr. Pepper experiment. So this is
I stirred that
a little,
little aggressive on the stir.
this is the first recipe that I'm showing you, but I've already done background work where I've tried a couple of different things just to see what works.
Yeah, no.
So that it was not a total failure. I'm hoping that this is pretty close.
Okay.
So straight up, the color's wrong.
I want to get back to the color, but that's pretty good. That's got a really lovely fruity cherry flavor to it.
Fruity cherry flavor. It is, it's quite nice, actually. If someone handed this to me and didn't tell me what it was, I'd say, oh, that's really nice.
Mind if you handed it to me and said it was a Dr. Pepper?
I'd probably...
No, beyond the color, because of course they add color, right?
Red
beverages
dye number,
add,
whatever.
Yeah, beverages, dark beverages all add color.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people have difficulty disassociating color from flavor. If you go into a room where you're taste testing things, they screw up the lights. So you
They have
can't...
like what, magenta?
Yeah, so you cannot tell what color you're drinking or tasting, so that your brain doesn't influence the flavor based on color.
That makes sense though.
So,
Everything, like all your other senses can bring in a bias.
okay, so this is something called acid phosphate. I get this from a guy in London, Ontario. He wrote a really good soda book about soda fountains in pharmacies in the 1800s. And he sent me this. Thank you very much, Darcy. So you need a few drops of this.
And it's going to change the flavor?
It'll change the flavor, yeah. Should stir that in.
Stir.
I'll leave a link to this and his book down below. And I think I'm going to do a couple of recipes from his book. There's a recipe in his book for Moxie syrup. And since we went and got some Moxie, we'll do that recipe and compare it to Moxie. I'm afraid to taste the Moxie though, but that's for another video.
All right, so how different is it?
Changes the flavor, doesn't it?
Kind of mellows it out.
Yeah,
You know, it's kind
a
of
little. Now there is a flavor in there that I don't like, and I think I will remove it.
All right, which one? Because I
It's-
mean, I'm looking at your list here, Glenn,
I
and there's a
know.
lot in there.
So, what did I end up putting in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I've got 21 flavors in there.
Yeah. Good luck in figuring out which one it is.
I think it's the licorice bark or the cherry bark.
Okay.
I think it's one of those two, and I will probably remove them.
Why? Do you think it's those two?
Based on my experiments with root beer,
Okay.
I know that
Okay.
it's
Previous
one
knowledge.
of one
So,
of
you're
those
cracking
flavors.
open the Dr. Pepper.
Might as well try the Dr.
So, fully admitting it's been a long time. So, as much as it's not how I remember Dr. Pepper, I don't remember exactly. So, that's probably good.
Okay, so Dr. Pepper, different flavor, different color, but that's all down to dyes.
Distinctly different smell. That's for sure.
Okay,
Did you want to smell it first?
okay, yeah. Yep. Interesting.
This one seems sweeter and more fruity.
That's what I was.
Excuse me, too many bubbles.
So when I first tasted that, it hit me as not as flavorful, much more mellow.
Really, one of the things it's it is less fruity. I don't know if more mellow is the right word. I think there's just less stuff.
Less flavor.
Like there's it's a cleaner flavor. Like there's just it's not as complex.
So as much as they say 23 flavors,
Oh, and there very well might be 23 flavors. I don't know.
But it
you
is-
had 21.
it is more subtle, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to do this again in a few weeks, probably, before I get to it. And I will remove things and maybe dial back the sugar a little bit.
Yeah, I think you can. And it could be that it's too concentrated. Maybe we should have put less in.
Yeah,
That would change the flavor as well.
yep.
And is your goal to become more like this one or just more palatable to you?
I think I'd like to become more like this one. I really like Dr. Pepper. It's not something that I choose all that often, but as a kid, I really liked Dr. Pepper. And whenever we went to Florida in the spring, I'd always come back with a case of Mr. Pibb, because you couldn't get Mr. Pibb here. And everybody's like, oh, Mr. Pibb, that's so cool. But, you know,
You still can't get Mr. Pibb here.
you still can't get Mr. Pibb here. Yes, so I think it's to become more like Dr. Pepper. So this one might take a little bit longer.
Really? Because the last one took a long time.
The other one took a long time too. So if you're interested in a Dr. Pepper mock recipe, stay tuned. We'll keep working on it. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.